Okay, how are we going, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin, and I have got a very special guest today. I am joined by Peter Espevoll. Have I pronounced your name right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Pe-
Well done.
Peter is the frontman of Extol, and he's going to be talking about the history of the band, and he's going to be talking about his new project as well, InTheosis. So, yeah, first off, Peter, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, man. It's cold, it's windy, it's fall, but it's all right. I kind of love fall because you've had the summer and then you're dreading winter, so you still sort of try to cling to to something good. But yeah, so it's all right.
Yeah, I do say this time of year it's nice this time of year, but I think it's nice for about the first week. Once the
Yeah,
leaves start turning brown, and then the sky is all a beautiful color. But then once the rain starts, that just goes,
yeah.
and then it's
Ah,
just
it's
it's
gray for a
we
month or
try.
two here, and then it's winter for like
Yeah,
feels like a year.
bear with me 1 second. I got a little portable heater in here, and it decided to kick in just as we were talking.
All
Um,
right.
so yes, Xstyle have been off and on for a few years, but at the moment they've just played Furnace Fest, which you was unable to attend. But how did that gig go? And is there some stuff going on with Extol at the moment in the pipeline, or
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as you said, we've been on and off. That's to say it mildly, for a decade or two. So last album we released was in 2013. So that's 11
but you
years.
put out a single, didn't you, last year?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So after many years, we had a chat, and then we decided we want to try to make some music together. So last year, a year ago, we were supposed to play Furnace Fest 1 year ago in October. So the plan was to release two songs together with that gig.
Right,
Uh,
that's why yeah, because I
yeah,
got a promo with that. I thought, oh, is it like a live recording or something like that?
right.
And it was like, no, it's a single that was, yeah.
But yeah, then the visas for the US, like the whole process there was really crazy. So we never got any answer in time. So we can go. Yeah. So but we'll release those two songs, and then we're also in the process of writing a full album. And then now finally we got those visas for the US, and yeah, the guys went over. I don't play live with Extol these days, but yeah, the guys went over and had a blast. I mean, from everything they told me and everything I could see and the fans' reactions and everything, wow, it seemed like great festival. So many people, so many old friends of Extol. Yeah, so we hadn't played in the US for 19 years, so I
Right.
guess it's about time.
Because you did quite a fair bit of touring back in the beginning, didn't you? I saw
Yeah,
the documentary that you put out.
right. Yeah, we did
Um,
quite a lot of touring, like 98, 99, 2000, 2003, and 2005. Yeah, so those were like those
yeah,
years we were touring there. Yeah.
of Light and Shade. I was just looking up the
Right.
thing.
The
I
documentary,
uh,
yeah.
I was tried finding that on DVD, and anywhere that was selling it, I had to sell a kidney in order to get it. So
Right.
luckily,
Okay.
it's now been released as a stream, where
Yeah.
it's something like $5, $7, and
Yeah.
you get the whole thing for a couple of days. So I'll put a link for that in the description below.
Awesome.
But yeah, so you've got a new project now these days, InTheosis, which you've now released two singles for.
Yep.
Yeah, let's get into the how did that developed and what you're aiming to do with that project and where that's looking to go as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of a random project to be honest, because I'm doing this band with an Australian guy, actually a hip hop producer. Um, and we met randomly in a mutual friend's bachelor party in Norway like 7 years ago.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So I can see how this has gone. Yeah.
Yeah. We at that bachelor's party, like everybody were, having fun and drinking, and we ended up just sitting at the table, just going straight into the deep, like with our mutual experiences with traumas and mental health issues and you know all that fun stuff. So we kind of hit it off with that, and then he went back, of course, to Australia, and yeah, he helped me with some production on another project I have called Rada, which is more like a orchestral progressive pop rock outfit. Yeah, so he did some production with me there last year, and then I knew all the time that he was a metalhead, even though he works as a hip hop producer. At heart, he's a metalhead. And he also used to be a big fan of Extol, like the Blueprint Dives album is, yeah, it's a favorite album for him. And then he started talking about, you know, yeah, he's been dreaming of doing his own metal project someday. And I was like, oh, well,
Here we
want
go.
to do it with
Yeah.
me? Want to do it with me? And then he was like, yeah. And then, yeah, we just started bouncing off ideas, and yeah, it turned into InTheosis. Yeah.
I really like him because you've got both. it's it's very different to Extol actually. It's got
Mm.
it's. I mean, it's not. Extol fans are going to like it, but it's definitely got its own thing going on, and it's got its own sound and style. But is that something you were aiming for as well? Did you think I need to set something apart, or did you just go with it, go with the flow, and he sent you the music and you just reacted to it like you would?
Yeah, no, it's definitely needed to be something else than Extol
Yeah,
for sure. So when we started writing the music, we just wanted to do something a little bit more modern and I guess a little bit more straightforward, even though Intheosis will also have quite a lot of half progressive stuff. But yeah, it's a very different approach. I think to me, Intheosis, it's more about the grooviness and the catchiness. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, putting on some really nice pop chorus melodies and making it big and huge and yeah, appealing somehow.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because people don't realize in metal you are allowed that. Like there's a reason Cannibal Corpse are the most successful death metal band. It's because they have songs that are memorable
yeah.
and catchy and like it's
Like
easy to,
in every other genre,
yeah.
right? I mean, the biggest acts are usually like really memorable and
Yeah,
catchy
they
somehow.
have riffs that people remember. You know,
Yeah.
you can still be heavy, you can still be crushing, and all the
Yeah.
rest of it.
Yeah.
Um, I really
Plus it
like the
has a lot.
artwork. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry.
I was
Plus it has
interrupting.
a lot of more kind of modern like synths and stuff like that. That fits a little bit more into yeah, I guess what we these days can call modern metal. Yeah.
Yeah, no, synthesizers are good as well. Of that's another love of mine. When I'm not listening to metal, I love a bit of synthesizer-based music, electronic, and bit of
Nice.
80s. You know,
Yeah.
so that's all good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the out. You've got two singles out so far, which
Yep.
are on Bandcamp. Great artwork, I was going to say, that you have with them as well.
Thank
I'm
you.
really looking forward to when you put an album together, what you're going to come up with artwork wise and in
Yeah.
the booklet and whatnot. Yeah, so let's go into the history of Extol. So you were really set apart, really being a Christian metal band in Oslo in the heartbeat of black metal when 94 really was at the peak of all the, you know, the drama with Varg and Euronymous and all those albums were coming out around that time. I think that the main Mayhem album was Die Mysteros this I can never pronounce it properly. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. The one with the church on the front cover. But yeah, that was, you know, in it that was really coming into its fruition at the time. And then you guys, a Christian metal band, you must have stuck out like a sore thumb at the time. And I remember seeing an interview with David uh, Husvik,
Husvik. Yeah.
Husvik, drummer extraordinaire for Extol, and he said that he would. I don't know if you was with him, but he was in a metal club one day, and like the guys from Mayhem and I think the guys from Emperor, he said, and Dark Throne, like a bunch of people from these bands were there and started, you know, giving him shit, and he said like he was like being intimidated and all the rest of it, which brought to my
They, they,
mind,
they, they actually started spitting at us. That's what
really. So you were there, right?
happened.
Well, it makes me wonder then, who's really the rebellious ones here?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, winds are changing, right? Trends are changing. Obviously, at that time, I mean, trying to set myself into their worldview and their rebellion and their thinking. Obviously, I can understand it. It feels like it feels provocative when some Christian guys come into their club. And I mean, we were there all the time, so we just wanted to hang out and be friends and have a good time and play metal and be something positive in the scene. But yeah, it was an interesting time, a fun time for sure. We never felt any that we were in any danger or like anything like that. We knew a lot of these people, and most of them were really really nice guys. However, a lot of bad stuff were done as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that was well, it's become a thing of legend itself now. There's films being made about it and books
Yeah,
and
yeah,
but yeah, it's quite interesting for me how you came together because you share a worldview. When I remember when I was 17 and trying to form a band, just trying to find someone who was into the same music as you was hard enough, let alone sharing a
yeah,
worldview.
yeah. Mm.
Um, how did you come to it as well? Because I suppose when you growing up in Christian circles and that you want to play heavy metal, a lot of people in the Christian community have negative view. They think of it as well what the stereotype of it is, and how
Yeah.
did you bring it all together and turn it around and make it your own?
Well, I mean, we were lucky in that sense, I guess, because I mean, Extol is me and my brother, so we
I forget your brothers in the band. Yeah.
yeah, knew each other. Plus David, our cousin, and like we were raised like 10 meters from each other, so we were
So you're
neighbors.
getting into the same stuff anyway. You're buying records
Exactly.
and sharing records, swapping records and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were actually missionary kids, me and my brother, when we sort of heard this music for the first time. So there were some older guys. I was like 10, but some of the older guys they had smuggled in some some like Striper and Barren Cross and Petra, these old Christian heavy bands, into the what do you call it, like dormitory,
Yeah.
dorm, yeah. And we were just like, oh wow. So we were sneak listening to metal in this super conservative Christian dorm in Nairobi in Kenya. Like that's where we heard Christian metal for the first time. And then we came back to Norway and moved back, and David, he had also had sort of a similar process over the past 2 years while we were gone. His bigger brother pushed Christian metal on him. So when we came back, Chris and David, they started playing a bit together, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna start a Christian metal band. And then I joined like half a year later. So yeah, we were lucky that we had each other like that close. Plus, after a while, we were lucky because even though most of the people in our congregation, in our church, we were raised in sort of like a Pentecostal Assemblies of God kind of church, evangelical, background, and most of them didn't understand this at all, and most of them were really skeptical.
Mm.
However, we were quite involved with the church as kids and as youth after a while, and like I started leading worship when I was 14, and both Chris and David, we were all part of the church, and sort of people could see that we were us, and just wanted to be who we were. So we were actually allowed to rehearse in the church basically from day one. So that was also a bit special that we actually got to do that, inside a conservative church in the early
Yeah.
90s, playing death metal. Yeah. And then, after a while, some people really hated it, and there was a lot of crazy things going on. But yeah, we were lucky in some sense. Yeah.
Right, we'll get into the music. I want to go through the albums with you, but I've got a question just popped into my head, so I'm going to ask it now before I forget. Well, I came into faith around the end of 2021, and then I discovered a load of Christian metal bands. And I was saying before we started recording, I started looking as is there actually some good Christian metal? And I've discovered loads of bands. Like, a big chunk of like this display now is a load of these Christian metal bands, and I
Hmm.
would never have discovered them otherwise. Like some albums that easily match some of my favorite albums, like Vengeance Rising. I'd say the first two, well, no, all four Vengeance Rising's albums are great, but that first album in particular, Human Sacrifice, that stands up against anything that the big four put out. And
Just a side note to that, human sacrifice, but also Once Dead. I mean, to
yeah,
me, Once Dead it is so special. To me, that's like it's really up there, because it was the first CD I got in
oh,
my life.
that's always your favorite,
So I
isn't it?
mean,
The first
that's
one.
just so super special. Yeah.
But yeah, but is it the term Christian metal? Because in the hardcore scene, you have straight edge, you have the Krishna bands like Youth of Today, and and someone might go, "Oh, well, I don't want to listen to that band because they're Christian." It's like, well, are you a Satanist? You listen to Deicide, happily enough. It's But at the same time, does it ghettoize itself? Is what I'm asking. Why it sort of sets itself apart, or is it set apart by the industry, or does it set itself apart? Do you think? Because
Hmm. Okay, so me in 2024 and for the past many years, I don't really like the
yeah,
terms because it's not really helpful. Like
yeah,
for me now, I don't understand why, yeah, why one should like classify it like that or put it into boxes. So
because it
yeah,
doesn't really give you any insight to what the band sounds like. Because there's a
no,
million miles between Extol and Striper,
yeah,
So
exactly. So I mean, of course, it gives you an insight that these people, like, they're likely people in one or more persons in that band that you know have some sort of belief. Yeah, how insightful is that? I don't know. Yeah, to be honest with you, I hate the term Christian
yeah,
metal. I can't stand it.
we'll drop the term from now on then. But no, I remember
No,
Ryan.
no, please use it. Like for me, I
Yeah,
just it doesn't make sense to me anymore.
no, I remember his surname escapes me now. Ryan, the guy from Demon Hunter.
Ryan Clark.
He- Ryan Clark, yeah. He said, you know, you're not a Christian plumber or a
Yeah.
Christian sound engineer. So
Mm.
why have I got to be? Is it? And he even went. I mean, I've never actually said anything. When I was asked in an interview, and I said yes, and that was it. Demon Hunter just became labeled Christian metal from then on.
Right. Yeah.
We never actually said anything about it. We were just asked a question and we gave an honest answer, and that was that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
funny.
mean, but in the beginning, the first years, we were really eager and we wanted to call ourselves Christian
Mm.
metal because at that time, we were more immature, I guess, but also it was important to us to somehow stand apart. And I guess also it was important to us to sort of convince the Christian people that yeah, we play metal, but we're nice guys. We still love Jesus. It's so it's almost like a defense tactic, right? So you sort of have to, yeah, prove yourself. That you okay. Oh, as long as you're Christian metal, okay, then you can play metal.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
right. It's not supposed to be like that. You should just play the music you want to write and write the lyrics you want to write, and that's it. Be yourself.
right. Let's get
Yeah.
into the albums then. So yes, 1994. No,
8
excuse
is the
me.
first one.
1998 was the first album. Burial. Excuse me. I'll tell you what as well. This is such a great catalog. I mean, it's five albums and a couple of EPs that we're going to get into, but there's so much change and development goes through these albums. I'm really looking forward to getting into this. So you released your first album, Burial. Let's get the book out because it's glaring. Um, this
Haven't
is
seen
like
it
a
for a while.
if this was a book, it would be that thick. There's so much going on in this album, and it gets called death metal, but it's so much. There's bits of black metal, bits of death metal, but it's so ahead of its time as well. And I think there's a lot in your sounds that would later be called metalcore. Um, but the songs just take so many twists and turns, and yeah, let's get into this. When I listen to this album, I always just think that this must have been a nightmare to record because there's so much going on. Yeah, let's talk about Burial and what
Wow.
you think
Look
of.
at those guys. Wow.
Yeah,
Young and fresh.
yeah, that guy with the long hair. Whatever happened to him? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually getting
Oh
a
yeah, you're growing it back a bit there. You're
I'm
working
getting a
on it.
mullet. Yeah, I mean Burial, wow, I kind of agree with you. Like looking back now, what an album. Not that I'm saying it's great, but it's just like you say, it's so many things going on. And like it felt like anything was allowed to do. Like there were no boundaries. Yeah, like any idea was floated, and we always had this democratic process in our band, so everybody had to like it. It's quite a miracle that that album is so diverse and so experimental because everybody had to agree, yeah, this is cool. But yeah, no, I mean we were influenced by so many different things. And Ole Børe, the guitar, the other, not my brother, but the other guitar player, he was, yeah, he came on like in 96, 97. So we had obviously played some and made some songs before that. But when he came in with his songwriting, yeah, just he brought in really different kind of vibes and melodies than we were used to, and then mixing that with Christian's guitar playing and stuff. Yeah, it just became really experimental and fun. So yeah,
I think it's the third track when it's just real heavy and crazy, and then it just pauses in this, and it goes like the bass becomes the lead, and you're like ding 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 ding, and then it just and then you're
yeah,
screaming over it, and it's just like this kind of bouncy rhythm, and it's just like where's this come from,
yeah,
and then it just goes back into the heaviness again, and
yeah, yeah. I don't know what I like. Also, I don't remember that well. It's very many years since we made those songs, but I just have this feeling that we were in a place where it's this like I think all at least when you're young and recording your first album or making your first album, it's always going to be the album that kind of tells you who you really are. And then on the second album, it's usually maybe better, but you have somehow been conformed, put into a box. But at least very often the first album, it's like it's usually unique. It's like anything can happen. You're trying to figure out where you are and who you are, and it just creates some magic. I think so. I think that was, I guess, a bit what happened with Burial.
well, you only ever get to make your first album once, don't
Yeah,
you?
exactly.
So
And I mean, we were kids. Like I was what 16, 17 when we made that album. 17, I think I was.
17.
Yeah. So yeah. It's
I mean, I mean, were you all around that age as well?
yeah, the others were 2 years older than me, so I was the youngest.
So even then, at 19, songs
Mm.
with this structure and this complexity at that age is just
But I think
yeah,
Ole coming into the band, I mean, he had been doing music since he was 3 years old, like literally, like
yeah.
he was singing with his family. They had his family band and stuff like that. So like literally, he's been a musician since he was born almost. So he had kind of another level of ideas about how to structure things, and obviously his playing is really good, and he brought this this vocal melodies into the mix as well. So yeah, no, it was a fun time.
Can I just quickly ask you to explain the artwork as well? Because I know I see the phones, but what was
Yeah,
with the?
I guess it's about rebirth, kind of like with yeah, with the eggs and what do you call it, the lizards or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, burial of the old and resurrection of the
yeah.
new.
I saw someone in a Facebook group ask about it, so I thought that'd be a good question. So, and then so when after that we get the EP, um, Mesmerized in 1999. Was this a new recording or was this tracks that was left over from Burial or was it?
You're sitting here with the wrong guy.
Oh,
I have like my memory is so bad, but I think they are leftover songs, to be honest. Wow, look
yeah.
at that. Or maybe we tracked.
Well, in this bit, you're doing an album, an EP, then album, and EP, but even the EPs are showing development in the
Yeah,
sound,
yeah, yeah, for sure. No, I think there was some new recording there as well. Plus, I guess there's some remix there,
Yes,
right?
there's four, yeah, three new songs and then three remixes. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So the remix was yeah, through our label manager in Sweden. He had some connections with some dude I had never heard of. But I remember feeling like when I heard it, it felt like putting the original song into a vacuum cleaner and just turning the loudness on max.
right. So then we get the in 2000s, Undeceived,
Yeah,
and a fan favorite for a lot of people. But from when I read comments from fans of Extol, you generally find whoever's favorite album is generally the first one. It depends when they jumped on board, really. But for a lot of old schoolers, this is a favorite. And for me, this album feels what you were doing on the first album. It's kind of like everything's just tightened up. It's
yeah,
what hasn't worked, you've dropped. What has worked, you've stuck with. And yeah, like pulling laces up on a boot, everything's just tightens up. You know, that's how this one feels for me. I love the Undeceived, the first track.
yeah.
That riff, that's stuck in my head for days because I was I was preparing for this interview, I just listened to all of the albums one after the other
Right.
non-stop, just getting myself ready for it. And that riff come into my head, and I couldn't remember which album it was on. I need to know what it is.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is a great album. Ember as well, another great song. But again, just like Burial, there's so much going on, and
yeah. I think you say it nicely. Like it feels like it's a natural development from Burial, but as you say, everything is a little bit more structured. Still crazy things going on and progressive, really progressive sometimes. But the structures are a bit more tight. Yeah, and the sound is is a bit unpleasant.
how do you mean?
No, it's just so much, high end
Oh,
and
everything's just turned up to 11. It's
yeah, like the high frequencies are a bit too much. But yeah, no, with that album, I mean, that's when so when we released Burial in '98, we went over to the US for our first time in the US just for one gig. Should have been one gig, but we actually got to play another gig at the big festival. And at that festival, the Solid State and Tooth and Nail label
yeah.
manager was there together with a Swedish label manager. And the Swedish label manager, he was like, "You got to see Extol. They're playing." We played like 2 at night at one of the stages, and he brought him over. And Samuel, the Swedish label guy, he said like after the first song, this American label guy turned to him and was like, "Yeah, we got a deal." So at that moment, we signed a license deal with them. And when we then released this Undeceived in 2000, it was that was sort of our break in the US in that market, because yeah, I think Solid did a really good job of pushing this album out, and saw that there was sort of like at that time in the US, especially in that Christian scene, um, everybody had cut their hair, everybody were doing like metalcore, and very few bands were doing like long hair and headbanging and windmilling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we did, and I think that's what Solid State saw, that okay, there's a room for this band in the US. Let's just push this. So when we got over there touring on that album, Solid State had made comps, like hair comps,
Yeah.
as merchandise, and that just became a thing. So it was like a big, just a big deal, and it became the album that sort of opened a lot of doors for us.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look on eBay and see if there's any Extol combs going.
Yeah.
Probably for a fortune. But um, so then in 2001, you put out the Paralysis EP.
Yeah.
I have not got Paralysis on CD. I had to find it on Bandcamp and download it.
Right.
Buying the download, just something. And
Thank you.
but yeah, that you have to take out a mortgage to find a copy of that on CD nowadays.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I can't hold it up and show it. So Paralysis, and is that pretty much the same as with Mesmerized? You just got it, you was probably doing some touring or something like that, and just had to put something out, or was
Um,
that a new?
no, actually that one I remember, because Ole then quit the band for a while. Ole Børre. So Tor Magne, who had played bass for us, he stepped in on guitar and started, writing some stuff with us, and John, I guess, had his first bass duties. And at that recording, I remember this is a fun story, because we went over to Sweden to record. I don't have all the memories here, but this is my version of this. um, we had one weekend to record the whole EP. So we sat in the car, I guess, sometime during Friday, and then we drove.
Well, four song tracks because you got instrumental, two songs, and a cover.
Yeah,
Even then, that's pretty intense for a weekend. Yeah.
it is. So we drove over, came to the studio somewhere in Sweden, and yeah, just started tracking, first drums, guitar, blah blah blah, and I can't remember sleeping, but I must have slept like some hours here and there. But I remember we bought this small Red Bull bottles that were concentrates, like not the big cans, but like
Yeah.
tiny ones that were just like pure, pure Red Bull
Yeah.
extract, sort
Just
of.
rocket fuel. Yeah.
We were just chugging those things. So like we didn't do drugs, but this kept
You
me
might
awake.
as well have with.
Yeah, exactly. And at the last day, we were like mixing. Yeah, we were even mixing, I think, in that time span. At least we were sitting there the last day, and I started hallucinating. I saw David, our drummer, jumping up on the soundboard and just started kicking around, and loudspeakers flying around. And I was like thinking, David, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And then suddenly, like, getting to myself,
Snapping
like,
out.
oh,
Yeah.
I gotta sleep. So yeah,
But
that was
then
fun. It was fun recording.
that's when you got a time limit though. Sometimes with that pressure, it gets results quick as well, and you do capture lightning in a bottle as well. In
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and I think that recording is really cool. I like the new songs we have there. I mean, that intro with the it became a like a live intro with a fill this place,
Yes.
really groovy. We use it so much, to start a show with, or end the show with. Yeah. So no, it was a good recording. Plus, we had a cover song as well.
Believer, another great band I discovered
Yeah,
recently.
yeah.
So, can I read?
And this is a just to show sort of the natural development of our band. Um, Believer is one of the bands.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. Believer is one of the bands that has been most influential to all of us, I guess, in
that
Extol.
makes sense actually because they're quite complicated
Progressive,
song structures as
technical.
well. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah. So I mean, yeah, they've been really influential. So we did this cover, um, which I thought didn't really live up to the original, but okay, that's fine. I remember actually while singing, I was like, nah, this is not right. I mean, we shouldn't have done this, Well, okay, we have to release it, of course. But yeah, and then after that EP, Ole came back to the band, and then we did sort of our Believer tribute album, Synergy.
right. Okay, that's a cool way to put it. So yeah,
Yeah,
we're coming up to 2003 now, and we release Synergy. And yeah, I like this. Is have you seen this?
I have
You
the
have, yeah,
gold edition.
yeah. This is a great series of albums. Whenever any album comes out on this, I just get it anyway. But yeah,
Yeah,
this
it's beautiful. Nice.
and oh, hold that up properly. Yeah, these gold CDs,
Yeah.
and yeah, a lot of people don't like the banner, but it's fine because you just spin it around and you get the original artwork anyway.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a don't want to say there's a change, but it's like the sound develops and sort of goes in a certain direction, but the hints of that direction is in these albums. You can hear the of it there, but well, I'll let you
Mm.
explain it really when you say it's a believer um
Tribute.
tribute album. Is
Yeah.
that what you were going for at the time? Um
Yeah, actually, I mean, not like it's not a Believer tribute album, but we talked about it sort of in that sense that,
you
they have
think a
been
bit on
so,
reflection rather than
yeah, yeah. So I mean, they've been so influential to us, and I think we were a little bit tired of the groovy death metal thing. Obviously, we've always like on the Civ, we had a lot of technical aspects and a lot of progressive stuff going on there, but we wanted to shift a little bit more towards just more thrashy vibe. Again, being huge fans of bands such as Believer and many others of these early '90s thrash bands. So yeah, but still keeping sort of the Extol melodies and the
you're
harmonies.
doing a lot more with your voice as well
Yeah,
on this
yeah.
album.
Yeah, that's another big change. I completely changed the vocal screaming on that album, going from the growling much more into more of a thrashy screaming kind of thing.
Do you find did you get a lot of pushback at the time with the
Yeah,
changing of the sound approach? But
yeah. I think like the hardcore death metal fans, burial fans, and Undeceive fans, they were like, this is not right. This is not Extol. This is too light. This is too screamy, too thrashy, too
I mean, there's
technical.
yeah, there's it feels like there's two phases of the band, but there's fans of both phases of the band. There's people that like the later albums,
Yeah, yeah.
not really fit, but then there's people that prefer
I,
the older
I
albums.
think there are almost like a fan base for each album.
Yeah,
Like you
but
said,
because they are so different, you've not.
yeah,
That's one thing no one can take away from you is that you've never stood still. You've always
no, for sure.
developed, and
Yeah. But I mean, this was really, yeah, Ole came back for Synergy, and this was sort of what we wanted to do at that time. And it was also the last album for Christer, my brother, uh, until now. But yeah, so 2003 was the last album my brother released with Extol. And this, yeah, so the riffing that he does on that album, it's really unique. Like the combination there with him and Ole, and the drumming from David, like all this fun technical stuff. And yeah, it
all
was
of these albums, you've got to sit with it for a couple of weeks and really listen to it on repeat. They all reward repeated listens.
yeah.
But yeah, none of them are albums that you can just stick on and it can play in the background. These are things that you have to listen and analyze, and it all just comes to you
Yeah,
over time.
yeah, you will find the new stuff there every time you put it on, I think. There are many layers.
Certainly. And then when do things? So yeah, this is 2003.
Yeah.
Then we got the Blueprint dives. Um, I've got a blue edition, but that's the artwork there.
Yep.
And yeah, we really go on the turn up the clean vocals on this one.
Big change, big
Yeah,
change. So after Synergy, both Ole and Christer quits the band. So both guitar players
right.
and main songwriters quit the band. So
There he is.
yeah, it's lovely. Maybe I should start wearing that kind of makeup again. Do you think so? Yeah, that's David. Um, yeah, so
There's
both
the
guitar
bands there
players,
on the back. Yeah.
yeah, both guitar players quit the band, and me and David, are kind of really wondering what are we going to do now? Because Christer and Ole is obviously a huge part
Yeah,
of the sound.
you meant
Oh, um,
their approach on guitar, the way they play their riffs, but then the songwriting as well. So yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna get a massive.
But then, of course, Tor Magne and John Robert both had been involved, like John Robert with Synergy and Paralysis, and Tor Magne with Paralysis and Undeceived and touring with us. And so, I mean, but they had sort of formed their other band, which also David and I was a part of. And then after a little bit back and forth, after Chris and Ole quit, we decided to sort of merge those two projects together with a new Ole Halvar, a guitar player, into a new version of Extol, which then turned into the Blueprint Dives. And that album, I think all of us were a bit eager to try to do something completely new, something less metal, basically. At least less, yeah. So less death metal and less thrash metal, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah. So when we started writing for that, obviously we had this other project that with some of those songs we brought into the new album, Extol album, but also wrote new songs together. And I guess we were more influenced by bands like Deftones than
yeah.
by Morbid
It was
Angel
off.
or
It was
Believer.
off that time as well. I remember like these two albums reminded me of a lot of the bands I was listening to at the
Right.
time. It felt like
Yeah.
you were ahead of the curve really. But around 2002, everything started as post and ended in core, and then each band sort of put their own middle word in the is post such and such core, post hardcore, post thrash core, post metal. There was math core, and it was you know
Yeah.
um but there was an experiment. It was a creative time, and there was bands like Norma Jean and
Yeah.
Poison the Well, Waiting Visions, Under Oath.
Mm.
Trying to think of a few. Botch.
Mm.
Uh, there was a lot of labels coming up at that time as well, wasn't there? And yeah, these remind me of that time.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
guess you.
To me, it was probably one of the. It was really fun, vocal wise, like to go a completely different road, a completely different approach. Now, like, yeah, singing vocals, melody vocals were in the high seat, like it was the main focus. Of course, there's a lot of screaming there as well, but yeah, just a challenge of doing that album with the clean singing vocals and together with the other guys making some really fun and catchy and good vocal melodies was yeah, I really appreciated that recording session, to be honest. It was
You I forget with Synergy you had a woman duet with you on
Yeah,
Great
Maria Solheim on
and
Paradise.
Paradigms, yeah, and then you oh, there's an acoustic song. I can't remember
on
what album it's on.
on Synergy.
Will you be there? Is the
Yeah,
opening. Will
Aperture.
you
It's
be
called.
there? That one.
Yeah, it's called Aperture.
What album's that on? Because I'm
It's Synergy as well.
that's on Synergy. Right, I'm thinking that was on this one.
Right.
It's all molded into yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
you're doing acoustic songs as well. Like you know, everything's just it's nothing. It's not really that different from Burial because on Burial nothing's off the table.
Yeah.
Well, people that are going, oh, well, I like Burial and Underseed, and I'm not thinking, well, yeah, but nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Nothing was off the table then. Nothing's off the table now.
Mm.
You know, it's
Yeah. I guess I think you're right. The Blueprint is again a very experimental album. So in that sense, I think you're right. Trying to just incorporate all these different people like Ola Halvar and David, like
yeah,
very different approaches. Tor Magne, everybody just trying to find a common ground, which was obviously challenging as yeah, really really challenging, but so much fun as well. And I think the end product is really special. And with Tue Madsen, the Danish producer and mixer, did a great job mixing it. And yeah, no, it's a special album.
yeah, cool. So now we get so yeah, uh, Blueprint comes out in 2005, and
Yep.
then we've got a big gap of until the next or self-titled album in 2013. So there's a gap here. Did the band actually split, or did you sort of just go into a hiatus that just never just carried on? I mean, this is obviously documented uh, in the documentary film as well,
Yeah.
of Light and Shade, and that was a really good documentary. But it touches on the beginnings of the band, but it's more of just the band coming back together to making Extol.
Yep.
Um, yeah, what happened in that period, and how did the band find each other again?
Mm. Well, it's after Blueprint, and we did quite extensive touring a year and a half after that. And then basically I just hit the wall. My my life fell into I was just really really a lot of things happening. I got a really bad ringing in my ears and a lot of anxiety, and yeah, so I had many years actually where I just needed to find myself again.
Mm.
And playing music wasn't really a part of what I wanted to do. It felt just wrong to do it, and of course with insane ringing in the ears, you don't really want to be in a small rehearsing room with insane loud
Screaming your lungs out.
rules.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So so it was just like, no, I'm not, I can't do this. And then yeah, obviously the other guys were really bummed out because I mean after Blueprint we were on a proper high, it was getting some proper attention, and we were Grammy nominated here in Norway, and it was just wow, things are happening, and I was like, well, I'm done. So obviously a huge
I
bummer
quite
for
like that
everyone.
approach though. I quite like when a band just releases a masterpiece and stop.
Yeah.
It does
Well,
you good nowadays because then once time goes on, that's like this classic that can't be touched. And when everyone
yeah.
else is,
Yeah, yeah. I guess if we had chosen it, it would be
yeah,
fun, but we didn't really choose it, did we? So it was more because of my health and mental health issues. So yeah. Anyway, long story short, many years of bad stuff with me, trying to find
yeah,
myself again, and then approaching 2013, me and David and Ole and Chris, sort of like the original lineup, came together, and we decided, okay, let's do a new album. I was like, okay, I'm not interested in playing live, but I'll do a new album. That'd be fun.
And you've stuck with that. You've never played live. You've done an album, and
I
you're
actually
okay to record, but live is off the table for you.
Yeah, I did 3 shows after that album because the guys tricked me into doing it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I kind of regretted it. It's
You got invited to a party, and then they just went just through that door there, and next thing
yeah,
you know, you was on stage.
exactly.
So I just
Something like that.
hand you a mic, and yeah.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, no, so yeah, no, that I'm yeah. Long story. I won't go into that now, but
You don't have to. It's on the documentary. People
yeah.
can go. Yeah.
So yeah, but Chris actually, we started writing some songs, but then Chris actually told us that he couldn't prioritize the time to do an album anyway. But then David and Ole and I decided to do it either way. So we spent about a year and a half or something writing this self-titled album.
Did Chris contribute to it though, or he didn't play on it?
No, no,
No.
nothing. And it was really very strange process because for the first time, like we didn't meet together in rehearsing studios or places to write songs. We were just sending email files, which was completely new to us because last time we met together was back in 2005, So,
yeah.
So that was a strange process for me. But yeah, it was fun. It was a bit it was fun and hard. Of course, a lot of old feelings coming up towards being in Extol again. Like it's been such a huge part of my life, and yeah. But I think we managed to make an sort of like a comeback album where we kind of incorporated all the previous albums into one new kind of modern package.
Yeah, I'm just showing. I didn't show off the artwork, did I? It was,
Yeah.
It feels because you don't. I'm trying to explain it properly in my head, my approach. You've worked so hard and developed so much, and you've 4 albums and 2 EPs just continuously, and then you kind of hit a wall, so to speak. That's not the way any band chooses to end. So you're like, well, at least we can put the full stop on it, and we've got one more album, and then if this is the last thing we do, at least we've ended this on our terms.
Yeah.
If something comes to it, that's a bonus.
I think you're right. Like it felt sort of like, okay, if this is like the final album we do, let's make it a really nice closure where we go back to the roots. We bring back a lot of elements from the early days, but we incorporate a lot of the stuff that we did in the later days. And we
approach the beginning, taking into account what you've learned along the way.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'm really happy with that album, and Jens Bogren mixed it really, really modern and nice. Like, sounds so good, the sound. So yeah, I'm really proud of that album. It felt like a nice chapter, which could be the end or could not. But now, obviously, we know it's not the end. More is coming.
So we'll get into. So let's talk about the future then. So there's plans with Extol, and obviously there's plans with InTheosis. So we're going to be hearing from Peter a lot in the future then.
Yeah.
We've got 2 albums coming in the pipeline?
Yeah, so first now, InTheosis 3rd single coming November 15th.
Okay, cool.
Called Iconoclast. It's I can't wait to release that song. It's together with a rapper, a Norwegian rapper. So brace yourself to all narrow-minded metalheads.
Well, so the guy you're doing InTheosis with as a hip hop producer as well, isn't he?
Exactly.
So he's going to mix
makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, but it's going to be a really, really hard hitting song. It's about, crushing your um, ideals, your beliefs that are not healthy to you, basically. Whether that's religious or relational or whatever, it's about crushing those things that holds you down and it's not good for you. So that's the first thing for me. We are writing Extol songs as fast as we can. So hopefully some new singles early 2025, and then album late 2025, who knows, something like that. And same with
quick as that, yeah.
InTheosis, we're gonna release some more singles and then an album, later 2025 or early 2026.
Awesome stuff. I'm looking forward to it. That's one thing I'll feel with Extol and InTheosis. Do you approach the two projects differently from a lyrical standpoint, or do you? I used to be in bands myself, and all I ever really did was get the music, or either listen to it in the studio with the band and just sort of, or listen to the demo over and over again, and I would basically just emotionally react to the music, and
Right.
the lyrics would come from there. Is that how you approach it, or have you got? I'm writing for Extol, I'm writing for InTheosis, and do you say you come up with some lyrics this morning? Would you go, right, shall I use that for an InTheosis song or shall I use it for an Extol song? How do you split the two? Or
It's a little, it could be, sometimes it could be for both, sort of.
I suppose I should have said that as through the albums as well, because it sounds like each album is a snapshot of where your band collectively is at the time. I suppose the lyrics are the same.
Exactly. And I mean, in that sense, Extol is a little bit more sort of set when it comes to what we write about and stuff like that. InTheosis is a little bit more open. With InTheosis, we've been very clear that we want to just we're writing a lot about mental health issues and about traumas, and how to sort of process these kind of hardships in life, often with a religious angle to it somehow. And I can write those kind of lyrics with Extol as well. But I usually tend to, they are a bit different. They are. And Extol is I dare to be a little bit more straightforward in the InTheosis lyrics.
Right.
Yes, than I would be on the Extol lyrics. Yeah, a lot because my brother, he's a language nerd. He's a teacher, and like when I have finished some lyrics, like he will always be going through it and know this word you can't use that and change this and like so, which is good because it makes the lyrics better, language wise. So yeah.
All right, I'll bring it to a close and ask you as we leave. Can you name me a couple of your favorite albums?
Like anyone all time?
All time. Doesn't matter in order. Doesn't matter how many. Just get.
Okay, I'm gonna say the one I already said. Vengeance. Vengeance Rising.
One's Dead. Yeah.
Yep.
Great album. Yep.
Great album. I mean, I listen to so much other than metal music.
Doesn't matter if it's your favorite.
I'm actually going to say another one that, like, if we're talking about all-time favorites, I have two more albums for you, and that's U2 October.
Oh, before, one of the earlier albums. Okay, all right.
Yeah, one of the very first albums.
Yeah,
and King's X, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska.
There we go.
Yeah, you got it.
Where is it? Yeah, great. I just did a King's X.
I'm a huge King's X fan. All of us are. It's really influential, actually, in Extol. For real, yeah.
Yeah, I just the other week did a King's X retrospective. I went through the whole catalogue, so check that out. You see, Doug has just done a new solo album as well.
Yep.
being released in a couple of weeks. I'm looking
Yep.
forward to that as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing band. So yeah, we should do another podcast talking about Kings.
Yeah.
So
Let's.
yeah, we've got Vengeance Rising, U2, and King's X. That's a good trilogy.
That's a good
Right,
mix.
Pete, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm really glad I reached out and got
Yeah.
speaking to you, and yeah, I've really enjoyed this. And yeah, when the whichever album comes out first, maybe I'll wait till both come out. But yeah, when you've got new music coming out, I'd love to come have you come on and speak again.
Sounds
And
great.
yeah, so folks, in the description, I'll put the Extol Bandcamp, I'll put the InTheosis Bandcamp, and if I can find it, I'll put the link to the of Light and Shade documentary as well. It's a really good film. Um,
I'll
yeah, I'll put
send
all
it to
those in
you.
the description as well. Anything else you want to part with before we go?
No, just thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And, to anyone watching this and listening to this, thanks. Hope you'll check out InTheosis as well. It's a baby for me. So, yeah, treat it well.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.